Next is Silhouette, who I think I just wanted to rip off the Halle Berry Catwoman design because I liked her design. Like the movie's awful and just all kinds of awful, really. But I liked the outfit. You can tell I was younger when I drew this. I was probably I've always really liked Halle Berry, and this was probably just like a sexual thing. Just like I just liked how she looked in that movie, even if I didn't like the movie, and I just wanted to have like a Catwoman of my own. But her name's Silhouette, but I think she was just like probably like the real Catwoman, just like a non-powered thief who has like a gimmick and a mask. But she looks like this, and I think that was it. I don't know if I had any plans for it beyond the design, if she was supposed to be paired with any specific heroes, but I think that was it. I think it was just I thought the Catwoman was sexy. Oh, speaking of Catwoman, this is based off of the comic book Catwoman. I recognize the drawing that I used as reference for this. This is also a more recent drawing. I would do a really good job recreating that. But anyway, I think Silver was also just like a non-powered thief or maybe spy type, like a Black Widow maybe. Obviously she was a villain, but I don't think she had superpowers. Her outfit was supposed to be silver and metallic looking. You can't really tell here because it's not colored, but yeah, she was supposed to have like this solid silver outfit. And that's basically it. I think I just liked the way that the goggles looked in the original artist's drawing, and I just wanted to recreate those, and it became a whole thing. But yeah, that was I like. You can't have enough like regular crooks who are just like witty and smart, and that's how they interact with the heroes. Like I think there's a lot of potential for characters like that in superhero stories, and so yeah, that's her. Moving on. Slicer. Okay, so Slicer doesn't have superpowers per se. I know it looks like he does here, but he was. I think his origin was that he was like a regular small time crook, maybe working for one of the more established villains or something, and then in the course of a superhero fight, he gets maimed in a way that costs him both of his hands somehow. I don't remember if I had a specific plan for how he was going to lose his hands, but basically, Mad Scientist is like, hey, I can help you out with that, and hooks him up with these gauntlet things instead, which aren't hands, and he still kind of has problems not having hands, but they do make these cool energy swords that he can use to slice people up and seek revenge on the hero that ruined his life, more or less. Although his life was probably already kind of bad if he was like a criminal running around with a supervillain. But this upgrades him from regular mook to supervillain in his own right. His name's Slicer, and that's kind of it. I don't remember if I had anything else besides that planned for him. I just remember like having that origin story in mind and thinking it was neat, and it was like a good motivation, like a careless superhero maiming a criminal is good motivation for that criminal once he gets laser swords for hands. So yeah, that's Slicer. Smoke. Okay, so I have a lot to say about Smoke. Smoke might take up a lot of time. Basically, Smoke started out as some of you may be familiar with the PSA comic that they put out in like the 80s. That was Storm, Power Man, and Spider-Man fighting a smoke-themed villain who was getting teenagers to pick up smoking, and it was an anti-smoking PSA thing. I had like 8 copies of this because my parents just bought up a bunch of comic books at like a garage sale, and like half of them were this PSA comic. So I had a bunch of them, and I also got some really cool stuff in there. I could talk for a while about just those comics because those helped form a lot of my early superhero concepts, because when I was a kid I had basically those comics, the comics my dad had collected when he was a kid, which were all like old, because he was my dad. But and like the Marvel cartoons that aired on Fox, and that was my superhero world for most of my childhood. But I had this stupid comic that was my introduction to Luke Cage, back when he was Power Man, and like I had a character in the superhero version that was a ripoff of him already, and Smoke was like based off that villain because I thought, this villain could be cool if it wasn't for the whole PSA element, like just a villain who can turn into smoke. And then later, when I got older and I watched One Piece, they had Chaser or Smoker or whatever his name is in One Piece, who had that power. And One Piece is a great inspiration for like unique superpowers that aren't common in Marvel and DC comics, and that's a good example of one, because even though that had shown up in this PSA, I don't know a lot of characters that can turn into smoke. Like, how do you catch smoke? So that was the idea with him, and then later I got the idea of teaming him up with let me find him here. I mentioned him earlier, but we're just going to pull him up for reference here. Where did he go? There we go. Flame. Because, bear with me, I thought it would be great if they were fighting Smoke, the superheroes that is, were fighting Smoke, and they got him cornered, and then he's like, he gets all cocky, and the heroes are like, what are you smiling about? We've got you now. And he's like, didn't anyone ever tell you that where there's smoke, there's fire? And then Flame comes in and like knocks the heroes out, and they escape or whatever, and I love cheesy shit like that. So, like, that was 100% going to happen if these characters teamed up like I wanted them to. If I ever got the chance to write a story with them as a villainous duo together, 100% guarantee that was going to happen. And that's everything I have to say about Smoke. Moving on, Soundwave. Even though this drawing is based off of a drawing of Black Manta, Soundwave was actually based off of there's a sound-based villain in Batman Beyond who is able to like mute out the city. If you guys have watched Batman Beyond, you probably know what episode I'm talking about. I took a lot of inspiration from that cartoon because I loved it. That he basically walked around and emitted these sound waves that would like deafen Batman and stuff. And Soundwave was basically just a knockoff of that idea, using sound as a weapon, weaponized sound. I thought it was cool, and I just used this drawing from a comic I had with Black Manta in it as the inspiration for how he would look. Cause I want him to just look like a dude in like a super powered suit, and there you go. That's what he looks like. Specs. Okay, so it feels like it's been a really long time since I talked about there was a supervillain group who were supposed to be they were all created by science. They all had like science-based powers instead of just Reglanium. Like there was Angel who had wings, I remember, but they each got one of the superpowers of Ultraman, who was my Superman parallel, and Specs he was the scientist, first of all, but he's also like this grinning idiot. But he has these special glasses were supposed to do all of these eye-based powers of Superman. I think Ultraman eventually I dropped the laser eyes and stuff, but before I had decided that I wanted to do that, Specs was the guy that had that power. So he would just have different settings for like X-ray vision or laser vision. He might have even had like ice vision to compensate for ice breath. But that just basically just different types of vision-based powers. It all came from these special glasses that he appeared to be embedded and have replaced his eyes. Like he's got a nose strap here, but other than that, there's nothing connecting them to his face. He's just got this strap over his nose connecting the glasses themselves. So maybe he cybernetically replaced his eyeballs with these glasses. I don't know, but that was the idea with Specs, and he was the guy that was supposed to have invented everything that made up the rest of the team. I probably forgot different members of the team when we passed them. I don't know which speed-based villain was supposed to be the one that was super fast, or which strength-based villain. I think Ox maybe was supposed to be the strength-based guy, But or maybe Behemoth. I don't know if you guys remember those characters. But I had a bunch of villains that were just a strong guy, and one of those was supposed to be in this group. I just don't remember who. Speaking of speed-based villains, Speed here. I'm trying to remember what idea I had for him. I think he was a villain for that same Power Rangers based group I was talking about. But I don't remember much about him other than he was just super fast, and he's got this like low cut leotard. This, instead of having a lightning bolt insignia, he's just got like this cleavage going on. And like I guess he's probably meant to be attractive and charming. He looks like he's probably supposed to be attractive, but I don't remember anything else about him besides that. But hey, you know, a little bit of fan service there with the cleavage is nothing wrong with that. Spitwad. So Spitwad was a character that was going to be kind of another loser villain. He was going to be a villain that got kind of picked on by other villains. That was the idea. But basically, I think he actually, I think he worked for that same snake organization now that I think about it, because he got like, I think he was combined with like a spitting cobra or something like that. I did research at the time, but I don't remember it because this was like over a decade ago probably at this point that I drew this one. But the idea was that he's supposed to have snake eyes and he could spit out acid. He had acid Spitwad, and that was it. But I think he worked for the snake people. I think he was a snake villain in that same group, so which meant he would have fought Iceberg. But I also remember him being like, maybe the reason I'm remembering that he's a loser is that his origin was that he was just like a loser in the group, and that's why he like volunteered to get superpowers or to be like a test subject for their Viglanium, their special made Viglanium. He was like, I've got nothing to lose. Everyone hates me. I always mess up everything. You know, that kind of character. And then he gets the spitting power, and that makes him more dangerous. But you know, there's only so much having acid spit can do for you, even if you do get like the extra projectile that would come with like having the DNA of a spitting cobra or whatever snake or lizard or whatever he was supposed to be combined with. But like it's still not like the best superpower in the world. Let's see. Moving on. The squid. I'm trying to remember what the inspiration for this was, because I feel like looking at this, it feels like I would have gotten this idea from something and just really liked the image and just wanted to steal it. But I don't know what. Like I honestly don't remember. I can't pull up anything in my head that looks like this, besides this drawing itself. So maybe not. Maybe I'm just used to saying that about stuff that I liked that I made, because I did steal a lot of stuff when I was a kid. You've noticed that if you've been watching this. I just had a lot of ideas that were borrowed from other things. But I do think this was just based off of this image of like a guy opening up his trench coat, and instead of being like naked underneath or whatever, like these tentacles come out, and I don't remember how they attached to him, or what. I don't remember how he was supposed to work. I think I just thought this looked cool, and that was probably enough. Maybe like it, you know what? Would be a better villain if you just had him be mysterious. The name reminds me of Sid the Squid from Batman the Animated Series, if you guys remember the man who killed Batman. But he, I don't know if he was necessarily based off of that, or maybe, actually, you know what? It's possible that towards the beginning of the episode, there's a part where Sid the Squid is fantasizing about like becoming like this big kingpin or whatever, and he's doing these shadow puppets of like squid tentacles. And I remember seeing that episode and thinking that was cool, that like a tentacle based villain could be really scary if done right. Like if the tentacles come out of the shadows or come out of a place where you can't see where they're coming from. Like this was well before I don't think this was the first drawing of this character. The more I think about it, but like this was well before like watching like finding out about how tentacles relate in like hentai and Japanese pornography. I didn't have that association. I was just thinking of like that scene in Batman the Animated Series. Like, I'm piecing it together. I'm remembering, and this drawing came later. I think maybe I did see something where a guy was opening up his coat and something was coming out. The more I think about it, I think it might have been like a swarm of bats or something, or just monsters coming out of him. But I saw that image and was like, I like that better than what I have. I don't remember what the original Squid drawing looked like, but I don't think it was this. I redid this. I can tell by the whiteness of the page that this is a newer drawing. Again, I don't know if you guys can tell it on your end if it comes through the camera, but like this is a much newer piece of paper than Spitwads. I think that's it. Sorry that was so roundabout. I had to, when I first saw the drawing, I was immediately like, oh yeah, I like this drawing. But I couldn't remember anything about it. But I think, tentatively, I'm saying that that's the origin for this drawing. I could be misremembering or making stuff up that happens sometimes, but as best I can recall, that's the origin for him. Swooping Hawk, moving on to something a little bit dumber. This was the partner of Roaring Lion, if you remember him. We just talked about him earlier in the same recording session. I don't know if it'll be the same episode, but Swooping Hawk was the other poacher, and he didn't get a lion, he got a bird. I don't know if it was a hawk, but it gave him these harpy arms that have wings, and I guess he could probably fly. I have no idea how somebody with this physique would fly with these fucking wings. These wings look terrible. This is a bad drawing. But that was the idea, was that he had like harpy arms and just could fly. And he teamed up with Roaring Lion and they poached and did bad stuff in Africa. And that's it. I'm afraid I don't have anything better for him to say. Other than it appears he's wearing just a loincloth. I don't know if you can tell. He's just got like a loincloth and boots, and that's all he's wearing. I guess I don't know why he's doing that. And he's got, the name sounds more like a Native American name than like a African name. But I remember the characters were meant to be like poachers in Africa. Maybe he was a Native American poacher. Like they were supposed to be Americans who came to Africa. I don't know why. It seems weird to cast a Native American in that role, but I guess it's not impossible. I guess maybe it's breaking stereotypes about Native Americans anyway, that one would be a poacher. But I don't know. I don't remember if that was the plan with him or not. This is what I'm getting from like the name, and the way I drew the face is close to how I typically try to draw Native American faces. I might also explain the weird choice of the loincloth outfit. I don't know. I don't like this drawing. I don't want to talk about it anymore.